Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to give you the official picks for every single fight on UFC Denver. Right now, we're sitting at a 62% hit rate. It's nothing crazy. It's not out of this world. But we've only been doing this for 5 weeks. So this will be the 6th week, and I feel good about it, okay? I think this card could definitely add to that pick percentage. We got 12 fights lined up. One of them was just announced like a day ago, which is wild. 4 days notice, just fighting out of the blue. Crazy stuff. But nonetheless, I like this card. I do. For a pick rate, I think this one will be solid. Let's scroll down to all the way to the bottom, where we start with the first fight of the night. The one that did get added yesterday. So 4 days notice for both guys. I don't even know why they're adding this card to the fight. Maybe just to get one of these guys out of the UFC, get them out of their contract, because we got the Contender Series coming up. But either way, we got Evan Elder versus Darius Flowers. Now, Evan Elder is the better fighter, and Darius Flowers has fought at elevation before, and he completely fell off of a cliff. Now, Evan Elder, I don't think is going to have some crazy type of cardio, and neither does Darius Flowers in this fight. So I think both guys are probably going to have to go for it. And at the end of the day, if neither of them can get each other out of there, it might turn really, really sloppy really, really fast, because that elevation is no joke. And if you can't get each other out of there, it might be two guys laying on each other towards the end of the second round, into the third round. But ultimately, I think Evan Elder is just the better fighter. He's the cleaner striker on the feet. Darius does possess some type of power, but honestly, I don't even think this guy should have been in the UFC. His win on the Contender Series, the guy got injured. Then he comes into the UFC, loses to Jake Matthews, and then loses to Michael Johnson. Evan Elder is a guy that trains at Killcliff FC down here in South Florida, and trains with Michael Johnson. And Michael Johnson just beat Darius Flowers, so maybe that's why he's like, okay, I probably helped out Michael Johnson in his camp for Darius Flowers. I know how this guy moves. I know where I can beat him. And he also does get some work in at, Marathon MMA in Missouri. I think that's what it is. Trey Ogden's gym, which is also a very good gym in my opinion. I think those guys there get really good work. Trey Ogden, really underrated coach and fighter in my opinion. So Evan Elder is going to be the pick. I could see him cracking Darius Flowers with some shots on the feet. Could also mix in some wrestling there. So Evan Elder is the pick. Short notice, I think he gets it done. Up the card, we got Josh Fremd and Andre Petroski. This is the most disgusting fight on the card, because Andre Petroski just really hasn't looked good his last 2 fights. And at some point, he has always been shown to gas. And if you're fighting at elevation and you can't get the guy out of there in the first round, then he is most definitely going to gas. And Josh Fremd trains at elevation. He is not the best fighter on the roster, I will say that. He's not a guy that you can really trust to go out there and put on some great performance. But he has had some performances, in my opinion, that do look a bit impressive. And he has fought some pretty good competition. That debut against Anthony Hernandez was very impressive to me, to be able to go 3 rounds with Anthony Hernandez, who continually breaks dudes down and just tends to finish him off later. In the fight, Josh Fremd made it to a decision. He was able to scramble out of a lot of positions and just stay in the fight. If he can do that here and not get finished by Petroski early, I think he could take over. And either way, I think Josh Fremd is a decent enough fighter to not get finished early, be able to take over, or he could find an early sub early on against Petroski, who loves to shoot takedowns and often leaves his neck out there, and Josh Fremd has some pretty long arms. He's the bigger dude who trains at elevation. I got to take Josh Fremd here. It's for a pick. I don't know that I'll be betting on him, but Josh Fremd will be the pick. Let's move on. We got Luana Santos Maria Agapova. Agapova dealing with a lot of circumstances that are not ideal. Possibly homeless, training at a different gym. She's usually American Top Team, and she looks like she's at God, I forget it. It's like American Top. It's like one of those off-brand American Top Teams in Sunrise, Florida, that I don't think really compares to the real American Top Team. She's had a lot of dealing with the homelessness, with the possible drug scenario there. Just a lot of red flags on the Agapova side. But at the end of the day, she is the better striker in this matchup. I think Luana Santos really isn't that good of a striker, but she does have a good ground game, and that's where Agapova tends to get finished on the ground. I mean, she does not have very good submission defense when somebody takes her back or just gets her to the ground. She just tends to flop, and she doesn't have great cardio either, and I don't know that the possible drug scenario would help that out. So I'm going to go Luana Santos. I think she knows she has to get this fight to the ground. I think she can do it. She's got good judo to get it there. If she can't get a regular, double leg takedown or single leg takedown, she's got the judo to fall back on. And once she gets it to the ground, she can lay in guard, but she can also lock up a submission. And I think she should be able to get this one done. The price on her is pretty crazy, but I will go Luana Santos for a pick. Move on. We got Montel Jackson, Damon Blackshear. Montel Jackson needs to keep himself away from the cage in this matchup if he wants to win, because Damon Blackshear is a very, very good grappler, and he's a pressure fighter. Montel has gotten away with landing a bunch of knockdowns in his fights, even though he doesn't really have that many knockouts in the UFC. He has an insane knockdown rate, and I think that has helped him pick up a lot of wins because he has power in his hands. Everybody talks about how big his hands are, which is just weird in my opinion, but I'm sure he does have some pretty big hands because he lands a lot of knockdowns. Damon Blackshear has been durable throughout his entire career. He's never been finished. He's fought really good competition, and in my opinion, I think he's the better overall mixed martial artist in this spot. Now, the cardio does, raise some red flags because he has shown to slow down and possibly gas out in the third round of fights. But in my opinion, I mean, Montel Jackson is just not. He's not a high-volume striker. He's just really relied on those knockdowns. So if he can't get the knockdowns and Damon Blackshear is in his face, pressing him up against the cage, getting takedowns, he can win minutes there. And Montel has shown if a guy does that, like Brett Johns or Ricky Simone, then he will lose. And I think Damon Blackshear comes in here with that game plan. He is serviceable on the feet, gets him to the ground, throws him up against the cage, and just wears on him because Blackshear is a damn good grappler, really good grappler. And I think he gets a win here. So I'm going to take Damon Blackshear for the pick. Moving on. We got Jasudavicius taking on the debuting Fatima Kline. Initially, when I watched the film on Fatima Kline, I think, damn, this chick's really, really damn good. And I think she could come in here and win against Jasudavicius. But at the same time, it is short notice. She's going up a weight class. And generally, I think Jasmine is a very, very tough out. She's a girl that is going to go in there. She's going to press the action. She's going to look to get takedowns. She's tough. She may not have the most technical striking. She might not have the best defensive striking, but she's a girl that's going to press the action. And I think she should be able to press the action here against Fatima Kline. Now, Fatima Kline, she's good everywhere. She has a really good or really extensive grappling history as far as grappling in competition. So maybe she can lock up something on the ground, but I don't really see it because if you look at her fights in MMA, she's not getting a ton of submission wins. It's more so getting the other girl to the ground and racking up control time, doing damage there. And then once it is on the feet, she puts together a good combination, then just tries to go back to the ground. I think Jasmine's probably the better wrestler here. And she's the bigger girl with more experience. I have to go with Jasudavicius for the pick. I was initially leaning Fatima Kline after I watched the tape, but then you have to take all things into consideration. Shit, excuse me. The Zinner was getting to me. You got to take it all into consideration, and I think Jasmine should be the pick here. If Fatima Kline comes in here and get a win, so be it, but I got to go with the experience. And just the bigger fighter, she's a dog, man. You can never count her out, so I got to go with Jasmine. Up the card, we got Joshua Van Charles Johnson. And I see a lot of people trending toward the Charles Johnson side this week, and I could see it, man. I mean, you're getting two stand-up guys, and Charles Johnson is the more experienced guy that has shown it a little bit more in the UFC. But I just don't see it, man. I think Josh Van is the pressure fighter who throws a lot more volume. Now, I know Charles can rack up a ton of significant strikes in this spot because Josh Van is pretty hittable. But he's a guy that's just going to keep moving forward, and Charles Johnson is a guy that jabs, runs away, teep kicks, runs away. He's a guy that fights off the back foot a lot. And if you're going to fight off the back foot against Joshua Van, it's not really the best game plan, because Joshua Van's just going to keep coming forward, and eventually you start to slow down. You can't just jab and run away, because he's just going to keep tracking you down, landing combinations, 1-2, rip to the body, upstairs again. Like, he puts together these combinations that Charles Johnson just doesn't have. So every one jab that Charles Johnson lands, I think Joshua Van's going to rip off 2 or 3. It's just going to look better to the judges. I think this fight probably goes to a decision, man. Charles has never been finished. I don't think Joshua Van has, big one-shot knockout power. And I don't think he's going to be able to wear him out to the point where Charles Johnson is, on death's door. So probably goes to a decision. And I see Joshua Van being the one pressuring, landing a little bit more in combination, and getting his hand raised. Could that age poorly? Sure, because you're leaving it in the hands of the judges, and maybe Charles Johnson is able to look pretty good. But I got to go with Joshua Van, man. I think he is the truth. He's the younger fighter. He's going to continually keep getting better throughout his career, because he has joined the UFC at such a young age and really doesn't have the most extensive professional career. So Joshua Van is the pick. Takes us to the main card. We got Abdulrazak Alhassan taking on Cody Brundage. And, I just don't think Cody Brundage has what it takes to win this fight. I mean, unless he can get him out of there early, sure. I don't think Cody Brundage really possesses anything too crazy as far as MMA skills. Like, he can get a takedown, but he can't really do much after that. Like, he can get you down to the ground, but then eventually you're just going to get back up. Or he's going to make a dumb decision trying to pull guillotine and end up on his back. Abdul packs a big punch, and he is a fire hydrant built. He's the literal fire hydrant. He seems very motivated in this spot. If you watched his interview, seems very, very motivated to go in there and just unleash a big bomb on Cody Brundage and put him out cold. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to take him because of that reasons, but I think Alhassan has shown a little bit more of an ability to last later in the fight. Now, I know both guys are not generally the greatest later into the fight, and Alhassan really, he's not knockout round 1 or bust, but he battles, man. Even in the fights that he loses by decision, he battles. He's not going out there and just, Cody Brundage in it like against Cedric Dumas, where he's laying on his back and laying in 3 significant strikes in a 3-round decision. That's just a terrible look, in my opinion. I think Alhassan gets this one done. I could see a round 1 KO or even early round 2 KO. And if this fight does go into the 3rd round, bro, look out, because these guys are going to be gassed the fuck out. They're going to be laying on each other. They're going to be not throwing much. I don't see this one lasting very long, but if it does, it's going to get really, really ugly. I'm going to take Abdulrazak Alhassan for my pick. Up the card, we got Christian Rodriguez taking on Julian Erosa. And I really want to go with Juicy J here, but I just can't, because I think Christian Rodriguez is super technical in his striking. He doesn't always go for it. He's not a big KO guy. But Julian Erosa, at times, a lot of times, hate to say it because I love Juicy J, but a lot of times just leaves himself to get encountered. And big right hand over the top. Christian Rodriguez could probably land that. I do kind of like Christian Rodriguez to get a knockout here, because Juicy J, he's been knocked out a lot, man. He's just not very durable at this point in time, and I don't see Juicy having a lot of advantages here, other than maybe out-voluming him for 3 rounds. I don't think he can really submit Christian Rodriguez, because Christian Rodriguez has been in some very, very tough spots throughout his career, and he's been able to survive all of them. I think he should be able to get this one done. If he does get taken down, he should be able to survive, get back up to his feet, do his work there. He's got good cardio as well. And both guys have good cardio, but I just think the durability edge is on Christian Rodriguez, and I think he can keep up with the volume. So Christian Rodriguez will be the pick for me. We move up. We got Gabriel Bonfim and Loosa. Now, I see a good amount of people being a little bit cautious about Gabriel Bonfim, and I get it. But at the end of the day, he's just the better fighter. He's the better fighter. Now, yes, if it gets into late round 2, into round 3, he's probably going to be looking pretty bad. But he is a dangerous dude. And Loosa gets hit so much on the feet. He's one of these guys that gets hit with over 6 significant strikes per minute. If you get hit that many times by Gabriel Bonfim, you're going to start to feel it. And Angelosa's been hurt a lot throughout his UFC career. He's managed to survive and make it to the scorecards, but that's against AJ Fletcher. That's against Reese McKee. And his last fight against Brian Battle just really was not a good look. It was actually the first time he got taken down in a fight was against Brian Battle. And I think Gabriel Bonfim has a great chance to get this fight to the ground and submit him. Now, Angelosa doesn't have the thinnest neck. You know, it's not one of those where you're like, oh yeah, that guy could get choked out easy. Because he's never been finished. But I think here, Gabriel Bonfim could probably get this dude to the ground, force some action, force him to make a mistake and find an early submission. And on the feet, he's a good striker as well. So I got to go with Gabriel Bonfim for a pick. And I could see an early finish, an early sub. Whether he's getting him to the ground and Angelosa tries to get back up to the feet, he catches the neck, or he could knock him with a big shot, get him flustered, jump on the neck type of thing. So Gabriel Bonfim is the pick. Moving on, we got Drew Dober and Gene Silva. Now, initially, I think in my early picks video, I took Drew Dober because it's short notice for Gene Silva. He's moving up a weight class at elevation. Drew Dober trains at elevation. You know, all that stuff makes sense. Then I dove deeper into the film. And I like Gene Silva here, man. I really do. Because Gene Silva just fought a southpaw striker in Charles Jourdain. Now, Charles Jourdain doesn't hold the power that Drew Dober does, but Charles Jourdain is faster. He is a little bit more creative. Drew Dober is a step in with a jab, throw a left hand down the middle. He's a little bit more stiff. Now, he hits a lot harder, that is for sure. But he's a little bit more stiff and he's a little bit more predictable. And what I saw on the film from Gene Silva, this dude's timing is crazy good. He is a smart fighter. He is going to be landing that left hook when Drew Dober steps in with the jab, loading up on the left hand. He's going to be able to land that. And if he doesn't land that, he also has the right hand right down the pipe, which Drew Dober has been hurt by a lot, which he got chinned by Matt Frevola. I think Gene Silva's timing and, you know, his game plans going into fights are amazing. I think he could probably get Drew Dober out of here with a knockout in round 1 or 2. Gene Silva is the pick, man. It is crazy. Like, of course, if it makes it into round 3, then Gene Silva's probably not going to be looking good. Drew Dober's still going to be there. Then it gets dicey. But the way that Drew Dober fights, it's just pressure, 1-2s down the middle, and try to land something big, and then take a shot in the meantime, because he's a guy that gets hit a lot. You know, the film that I watched on Drew Dober, it's just so, it's almost elementary. It's almost elementary to the point where he just doesn't care. He has the great chin. He's had the great chin for the longest time, but he is almost 36 years old. That is going to change. You can't take that many shots. He's already been knocked out by Frevola, 3 fights ago? I think Gene Silva has the power to knock him out. He has the timing, and I think he has, you know, the speed as well, because what's the saying? You know, speed beats power and precision. I don't know what it is. You know what it is. Okay, I think Gene Silva gets this one done. Santiago Ponzinibbio, Muslim Salikhov. You know, Salikhov, I think this guy might actually be nearing his 50s, because you look at his profile picture on Tapology, it's black and white. It's black and white. He's got no beard and he's got a mop head. I think that picture was probably taken in like the 80s, bro. Like maybe sometime before they even had colored images. I think he probably lied on his birth certificate because he got into the UFC at 33. He was probably like 40 when he made his UFC debut. He's old. He's old, and I don't think he fights well moving backwards. And Santiago Ponzinibbio is a guy that is going to pressure the shit out of you. He's going to be in your face. He's going to be winging a lot of wild stuff, and he could get caught in the process. But from what I've seen on Salikhov, he can't move backwards. He can't fight moving backwards. And number one, he doesn't really move backwards very fastly because he's slowing down. He's slowing down really, really rapidly, in my opinion. Now, could he get into this boring, low volume type of fight? Sure, but I don't think Ponzinibbio is going to fall into that. I think he's just going to go for it. That's what he's always done. He's going to pressure with the boxing, rip the leg kicks, and I think he gets this one done. So Santiago Ponzinibbio is the pick. Brings us to the main event, where I'm really torn if I want to bet on her or not, because I think Rose Namajunas is the better fighter. She's the girl that trains at Elevation. She's the girl that has been training for this card at Elevation for much longer than Tracy Cortez has. Tracy Cortez was supposed to fight the week after against Miranda Maverick, which is a completely different fight than Rose Namajunas. Yes, she's been training, but she got to take this on short notice, dealing with the Elevation. It almost seems, it almost seems like a spot where Tracy's like, yeah, this is my opportunity. Like, if I don't get it, who cares? I'm going to take it. It's a main event, big opportunity. Not a lot of risk, because if she loses to Rose, who's higher than her in the rankings, and it is what it is. Tracy has a chance to win this fight, and the only chance that I think it is if Rose fights passive. If Rose fights aggressive, if she goes out there and is like, yeah, I'm better than this girl, I'm just going to take it to her, Rose wins this fight 9 out of 10 times, maybe even 10. But we don't know that with Rose. We really don't know what we're going to get into. And another thing that is scary is that Rose, last time she fought a wrestler, was really just trying to win the fight based on not getting taken down, and she lost against Carla Esparza. So Tracy has the threat of the takeout, but on the feet, I think Rose is just going to hit her a lot more clean, but then she does tend to really not separate herself on the feet. Like, she lands really clean strikes, but all these in-between shots where Tracy Cortez is throwing these little body kicks, throwing a jab, and Rose is moving around there, like, trying to look really good. She doesn't really separate herself, but she is the better fighter. So I'm going to take Rose Namajunas for the pick because she is the better fighter. But on Saturday night, if she doesn't go out there and prove she's the better fighter, she could lose. She could lose a decision because she's probably going to leave it in the hands of the judges. And maybe she gets some home cooking. I don't know. I mean, Tracy can rack up some control time on the ground, but Rose is a good grappler herself. So Rose is the better fighter. She's better. But it's frustrating because you can't really have much confidence in it, because you just don't know what you're going to get. So Rose is the pick. But fuck, man. We'll see. We'll see what type of Rose shows up on Saturday night. But those are the picks. Appreciate y'all for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. We'll be back here with the Best Bet Show Friday. So stay tuned for that. Let me know your picks down in the comments. Hey, Jai Picks. We out.